Hey everyone, it's Kathleen Boyd here, consultant at Student Loan Planner. Soon, my colleague Lauryn Williams, another consultant at Student Loan Planner, is going to be joining me. We decided to record an Instagram Live for all of you, just given all of the hoopla that is going on right now with student loans. You probably heard of the recent injunction. Two federal court judges announced that they are halting certain aspects of the SAVE plan until it is litigated and the future of the SAVE plan is decided. So we're going to talk about how that impacts all of you. There's also some important deadlines that are coming up quickly, June 30th, related to the IDR waiver, as well as the sunsetting of a couple of other income-driven repayment plans. We'll talk about that as well, and then just answer any questions or concerns you have about everything that is going on. And we'll get started in just a minute.
Hey. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
I am delightful. I am joining from Medellin, Colombia, where I have relocated myself. So excited to have this chat. There's been so much happening in the student loan world. Our inboxes are blowing up. And I thought hey, let's get together. Let's do some of these frequently asked questions because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to miss this deadline related to some of the changes that are happening. And then there's a lot of people that are just like, oh my God, should I change my whole student loan plan because of this SAVE injunction? So I thought it would be a great topic for us to kind of cover today to see if we can cover as many people as possible because we're not going to be able to help everybody before June 30th. So
Exactly.
So I heard you give a little bit of a rundown of what's happened with the SAVE plan, but maybe I'll start with that and then we do Q&A. You want to be the interviewer or the interviewee?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you mentioned, there's two federal court judges, one in Kansas, one in Missouri, and they both implemented partial injunctions that have paused the SAVE plan until both lawsuits are fully litigated. So there is a whole pause happening for everybody who jumped on the SAVE plan, and people are just like, wait, what does that mean? Do I still have to make my payments? What's going to happen? Is the world ending? So there's two things that are kind of affected by this. One, no more debt will be forgiven under the SAVE plan, even if you've met the required number of payments, which actually I'll just pause there and address that a little bit. There's two separate things happening right now. There's the SAVE plan, which is actually a payment plan. And then there's the IDR adjustment, which is an actual waiver that is happening to clean up the overall student loan system. The IDR adjustment is still happening. If you've made enough payments to get an adjustment that would qualify you for forgiveness, you can get that forgiveness. What's unclear as per this, or maybe it is clear because the language says we are not giving anyone else under the SAVE plan any forgiveness, is maybe you just switch over to a different payment plan if you've already made 25 years of payment. So income-based repayment is another one. Pay-as-you-earn is one. There's a new income-based repayment plan. That might make you still eligible for the IDR adjustment piece of the forgiveness puzzle. But this is basically saying that no more debt will be forgiven under SAVE right now, even if you've met those number of requirements. Then the other piece of the puzzle is that they were in the midst of implementing this lower payment situation for borrowers who had undergraduate debt. So basically what they said under the SAVE plan is that it was going to go to 5% of income for undergraduate borrowers starting in July. A lot of people have gotten notifications from their servers are saying, hey, we're putting you in administrative forbearance for the next couple months because we're trying to get this process. We're trying to lower your payment based on the fact that you have undergraduate debt. So it could be you had some undergrad and some graduate debt, or it might be that you had all undergraduate debt. You could have been on the SAVE plan for the last 12 months. It started July of last year, but you wouldn't have been getting this lower payment based on the calculation that they said SAVE was going to be until July 1st coming up. They've paused that now as well. So you probably won't be seeing that payment adjustment until everything gets figured out. Kathleen, what are you thinking about what I've said so far?
Yeah. That's absolutely correct. And, we're seeing that go into effect now. I'm having clients who were expecting their payments to be cut in half. Then they go on the studentaid.gov website and their payment is different than they thought it was going to be. And that is because this went into effect immediately. So don't be alarmed by the change in payment. It's just reverting back to what it was originally. But for now, unfortunately, yeah, borrowers with the undergrad loans will be stuck with the slightly higher payment until this injunction gets settled.
Yeah, 100%. So like, what should we do? If we're freaking out right now, oh my God, like the world's ending. How do we fix this like thing that's happening? I would say the first thing you need to be considering is that if you're already on Save, I don't think you need to abandon ship. It really is going to be a matter of your risk tolerance. At the end of the day, I can't say 100% you should stay on this plan, but I also am not feeling like, oh my God, let me tell you guys how to get off of it immediately. They're saying it's still a plan. Your payments are still going to be, taken. The Supreme Court is probably where this is going to end up. And based on the way that they meet, it's probably not going to be until October. So we're all going to probably sit in limbo and have to wait to see what happens with this until October. So what I would say is sit tight. That's what we're telling our clients is sit tight. Don't make any drastic changes unless, like I said, you have a really, really low risk tolerance and you're wondering about some of these other payment plans that are available. So as an example, one of the ones that is at risk of this June 30th deadline is the pay-as-you-earn plan. The rules for pay-as-you-earn are that you borrowed exclusively after October 1st of 2007, and you also have an outstanding loan as of October of 2011. So not everybody is eligible for that. If you borrow back in 2005, 2004, if you're around my age, I went to school from 2001 to 2004, you've got loans pre-2007 and you're not eligible for the pay-as-you-earn plan. And so that's a moot point for you. Its deadline coming up on June 30th is going to be irrelevant. But if that is a plan that's relevant to you, then maybe you want to consider getting on it before it's 6:30. That's an option and it's a possibility. But once again, I'm hesitant to just say on a blanket statement, where tons of people are listening, hey, you should bail out on Save and jump on the pay. If someone has already made a student loan plan for you, if you are a client of Student Loan Planner, and we've already told you that Save was the best option for you, I would say stay put. Do not freak out. Don't try to figure out what do I need to do next instead. So is that helpful in the way that I described it, Kathleen?
Absolutely. So most people should stay the course is basically what Lauryn is saying.
Mm-hmm. Most people should stay the course, but we're still going to get questions. Like I said, we've been getting questions, tons and tons of questions. Actually, we're already getting questions in the chat. So I'll just a few in the chat, and then I'll throw a few of the FAQs that we've been getting via email at you, Kathleen, and maybe you can clear that up for some of the borrowers that are checking this out. All right, so first one, when will that forgiveness take place? So if you are eligible for forgiveness, they will send you a notification that you are eligible for forgiveness, immediately. However, that's one of the biggest misconceptions that's been happening related to these income-driven repayment plans and all this forgiveness talk is everybody thinks like, oh, there's somewhere I can just sign up and my loans get wiped away. That's not actually what's happening. Payment plans are either 20 or 25 years. The IDR adjustment is fast-forwarding you toward your 20 or 25 years based on certain criteria. If you meet the criteria and you now have 20 or 25 years of payments, which not necessarily is payments nowadays, you can get your forgiveness immediately. But it may be that, you've made only 3 or 4 years of payments. This IDR adjustment gives you 3 or 4 more years of payments. So now you got 8 years of payments and you were on a 20-year plan. You got 12 years to go, but this IDR adjustment helped you get closer to that than you would have been otherwise. So that's, like I said, a misconception that a lot of people are having. The other question I see here is it worth moving to pay if I have to have a payment plan that excludes my spouse's income? Yes, pay is one of the payment plans where you can do married filing separately, and it will exclude your spouse's income from the scenario. So that is the good thing. But pretty much all the payment plans do that now. Save does that, IBR does that, and ICR does that. The key piece of the puzzle is that the prerequisite is doing married filing separately.
Exactly.
All right. So let's jump into some of these like crazy injunction questions that we've been getting. Well, they're not crazy questions. They're very valid questions. People are like, what do I do? How do I figure this out? But like I said, mostly the answer is like, it depends. So the first one says, if you're not on the SAVE plan, but you're on an IDR plan for PSLF, does this apply to me, this SAVE injunction? I have 4 more payments until I hit my 120 payments.
Correct. That's exactly right. So this injunction is strictly for the SAVE plan because the SAVE plan is not a codified, it still hasn't been codified into law. It was a Biden-specific plan. It was sort of the consolation prize he came up with when he couldn't get the $20,000 forgiven that he wanted for everybody last summer. So he came up through executive action, he came up with this plan. And so it's been contested that, this was unconstitutional, that he did not have the right to put this plan in place without congressional approval. So that's why this injunction was put into place a couple of days ago, was to stop the SAVE plan and halt a couple of provisions of the SAVE plan. The SAVE plan is still in existence. It's just halting a couple of provisions of the SAVE plan only. So if you're on a different income-driven payment plan like Pay or New IBR or Old IBR, this new injunction does not apply to you. If you have 4 payments left of your 120, go ahead and make those 4 payments. You should be good. And also forgiveness under PSLF, that is not in question here. That is not in trouble. It's only cancellation strictly under the SAVE plan. So all of you PSLF folks can rest easy.
Amen. Hallelujah. So just so you know, like I said, we're always trying to educate people. Public service loan forgiveness has 4 requirements. The first one is that you have direct loans. The second one is that you work at any nonprofit or government agency full-time, which is at least 30 hours per week. The third one, to the point of this borrower's question, is you need to be on an income-driven plan. SAVE is one of the income-driven plans. It is not the only one. So this borrower is basically saying they were on a different income-driven plan. Are they going to be affected? No, this injunction is related specifically to SAVE. And then the last thing that you need to do on public service loan forgiveness is make 120 payments, which is the equivalent of 10 years, and this person was 4 years away. So if you never heard of public service loan forgiveness, I encourage you to Google that, learn a little bit more about it. It might be relevant to you, because you wouldn't believe the number of consultations that we have done where people didn't realize that they were actually eligible for public service loan forgiveness, which gets them to forgiveness a lot faster than the average person. So I'll drop to the chat again, and before I go back to the FAQs. So will they send you a letter letting you know if you qualify, and when will that letter be sent? So only if you qualify will that letter be sent. Otherwise, they're going to update everyone's payments. They said most recently by September. So around September, you should get an email from your servicer or from the Department of Education saying, hey, you've made 150 payments of 240 or of 300, depending on what payment plan you're on. You have this many more to go. They're doing that payment count behind the scenes right now. And so around September is when you should expect to see a blanket announcement saying, hey, here's your particular situation. The other one says, I don't qualify for IBR. What if SAVE changes to repay? Will spouse income be excluded since I file separately? Or do I need to change to pay now before it's too late? So this is one of the questions that we've been getting a lot. Kathleen, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so what we're telling clients in particular is if you were given a recommendation to get on Pay because it was the best plan, the lowest cost plan over time for you, you should stick with that plan. Okay, there's no reason to do plan jumping right now. SAVE is still accessible to everybody, and if that's the plan for you, you should stay on it. Now, there might be some scenarios where changing to Pay could make sense, particularly what Lauryn was talking about before. If you're just risk averse and you're stressed out about the uncertainty around the SAVE plan and you qualify for the Pay plan, I don't think there's anything wrong with switching. But, other than that, unless the Pay plan is the better plan for you, right now, just stick with the plan you're on, the SAVE plan.
100%. And so to this person's point, The answer is we don't know. What if SAVE changes to repay? Our leader, Travis, actually believes that that is the most likely scenario, is that they'll get rid of SAVE and that repay will be a thing. But the real answer is we don't know what's going to happen until we know what happens. So it's hard for any of us to do any speculation. We're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
And while SAVE was invented fairly recently, before SAVE, we had these other payment plans. We had repay, we had IBR, we had pay as you earn. And so you had to make the best decision based on what was available to you at the time. There will still be something available post save. So even if they wipe it out and they don't reinstate repay as an example, there still will be other payment plans, and you'll have to make the best decision based on the payment plans that are left. Repay was a payment plan, though, to this person's point, where your spouse's income had to be included regardless of your filing status. And so it's a very valid question. Like, oh my God, SAVE is allowing me to do married filing separately, but repay might not allow me. That is true, but you can't cross that bridge until we actually know that that's a bridge we have to cross, is the unfortunate answer. We wish we had a magic wand that told us all those things, but we don't.
Yeah, we've got to work off the information we have now, folks. We can't project out into the future and try to guess what may happen and make our moves based on that.
Absolutely. So then the other question was, if you're on PSLF, do you need to change to an IDR besides SAVE for those payments to count? No, you can stay on SAVE and your payments are protected during this time. So if you are on SAVE pursuing public service loan forgiveness, that is completely fine. Like I said, don't freak out. You're not going to lose access to PSLF because of this injunction. All right, next question here is, I switched to SAVE from repay after student loan consultation. Should I switch back or stay where I am now? Which is kind of what we just addressed, but what do you think, Kathleen?
They were on SAVE and they switched to pay?
They switched to SAVE from repay.
From repay.
This is kind of a trick question, right? They switched from SAVE to repay after a student loan consultation. Should they switch back or should they stay where they are?
So that's an interesting question. So the SAVE plan replaced repay. Okay, so repay is not in existence anymore. So you are likely on the SAVE plan right now and should stay on that plan.
Exactly. And so this is where like the nitty gritty and the details really does matter, which is why we do 60-minute student loan consultations for people, is to help them understand how to sort through all of this melee, because there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world right now. But SAVE and repay are one and the same. Repay currently does not exist. It was replaced by SAVE. So there's no way for you to switch back to repay right now. You could switch to one of the other income-driven payment plans, but you need to do that with care, because the risk that you take when you switch payment plans is, one, you might need to provide your income information. And if you haven't provided your income information for quite some time, you could be going from a lower payment to a higher payment. So you could be costing yourself money in that regard. The other thing is that you might be switching to the wrong payment plan. So as I mentioned, the pay as you earn is like you had to borrow after October 1st of 2007. There's an income-based repayment where you could borrow exclusively after July of 2014. There's another payment plan called income-based repayment plan, and it's basically a blanket thing for anybody who borrowed before July of 14. So if you choose income-based repayment and you're not really sure when you borrowed or how the rules work, you could be putting yourself in a payment plan that's going to actually give you a much higher payment than you previously had, and you're not going to be happy with that. That's why we're telling people stay put. Don't freak out. Let's wait till October. Let's see what they give us as options so that you can make the best decision for yourself. Because I'd hate for someone to jump ship, get on the wrong payment plan, do 4 or 5 months of a much higher payment than they had to make, and then everything's okay with SAVE, or there's a much better option than SAVE, or they just make a few little tweaks to it. We don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Well said.
All right, this next one, Kathleen, it says, okay, hypothetical. So if SAVE collapses, which is wild for me to think this is happening, but the pay deadline is June 30th and repay is not instated, what do we switch to?
Yeah, so as of right now, there would only be one other payment plan available to you. It's called old income-based repayment. If you don't qualify for pay or new IBR, then the last last option you have is something called old income-based repayment. It is one of the more expensive payment plans out there. But as of now, you would have that option. Now, what we think is going to happen, this isn't official, but what we think is going to happen is they're going to have to bring back some of these other payment plans that are sunsetting June 30th. That's not guaranteed, okay? So just going to put that out there. That is what we're saying is not guaranteed, but we've heard from some credible sources that likely what's going to happen is they're going to bring back those plans.
Yeah. And like I said, if you really, really just can't sleep at night because you're on the SAVE plan and you're wondering about if you need to be on a different payment plan, I suggest booking a consultation. We do have availability. We got all hands on deck ready to go because we know this June 30th deadline is coming up. So if any of the other payment plans are relevant to you, especially the two that are going away as of June 30th. So like I said, once again, it's a little bit muddled because there's a few different things happening in conjunction with one another. SAVE Injunction is a payment plan. IDR waiver is one thing that's happening. It's over on June 30th. And that is to help people get the highest number of payments counted toward any income-driven plan. And then in tandem with that, we have the pay-as-you-earn plan that is going away. If you're not on it, you won't be able to get on that plan anymore. But if you're already on it, you will be grandfathered in. And then last but not least, we have the income contingent repayment plan that is also going away for anybody who is not a Parent Plus borrower, and they might want to get on that. So actually, I'll talk a little bit about the ICR plan for a second because we haven't said very much about it. It's one that doesn't apply to a whole lot of people, but there are a select group of people that we've been recommending that for, especially in light of the IDR waiver, because they are high earners with low amounts of debt. So who does this look good for? Physicians who've had loans. They maybe had 150K of loans way back in the day. They're older borrowers, and they just have been paying slowly but surely on a 30-year plan. So now they're 15 years down the road on their plan. They would have 15 years to go on another plan, and then all of a sudden their employer has become a public service employer. So now they're like, wait a minute, I could qualify for public service loan forgiveness, but I've only been working at this place for 7 years. So they got 3 more years to go until they can get forgiveness, but they would actually get some forgiveness on their loans. They need to switch payment plans to an income-driven in order to get that forgiveness, but they make $500,000, some big physician salary now, and they only got $70,000 of debt left. Well, they need to get on a payment plan that's going to allow them to actually give some forgiveness. And the way they work, the income-driven plans work, is the more money you make, the more income you have, the higher your payment is going to be. Well, the ICR plan specifically has a 12-year calculation that makes it much more affordable than some of the other payment plans. So this is relevant if you are a high earner in comparison to the amount of debt that you have, and you want to see if you're eligible for any forgiveness because you previously thought that you were not eligible for it.
Yeah. This is also for Parent Plus borrowers, and we should probably add that this plan is staying available for Parent Plus borrowers. Mm-hmm. This sunsetting does not apply to you. So if you're a parent who took out loans on behalf of your child, you're a parent, likely a Parent Plus borrower, you get to maintain access to ICR past the deadline. So again, this does not apply to you.
100%. So know who you are, know what you have going on, make a plan specifically for yourself. Like you said, we're giving out information with specific examples as we can, but no information is one size fits all, which is the reason that consultations are important. It's worth investing in yourself to get a plan specifically for you based on your particular situation, because I don't want you doing what your friend did, because doing what your friend did can get you in trouble sometimes, right? All right, so my next question says, if I apply for the SAVE plan, do I lose all the progress I've made toward forgiveness? I only have about 2 years left to go.
And the answer to that is no. You can switch between income-driven payment plans and maintain your prior payment history. So I don't think you should be concerned about that, but do keep in mind that because of this current injunction, no loans are going to be forgiven under the SAVE plan. We don't know how long this injunction is going to last. It, of course, is going to be subject to litigation. We'll probably go all the way up to the Supreme Court. So keep in mind that you may be waiting longer than a year to get your loans forgiven under the SAVE plan if this gets drawn out.
100%. You just need to be thinking about, like you said, what is relevant based on my particular situation. What do I need to be doing?
Yeah.
All right. The next one says, I applied for a consolidation. A little bit longer of a question. I applied for a consolidation loan for the IDR waiver. The consolidation loan was issued, but it's still showing a regular payment of $2,500 due instead of the PSLF IDR amount. Since the judgment blocked SAVE, will I now be blocked from being added to that plan since the IDR request is still pending, even though I was on it before and still have the IDR request pending?
Yeah, so the answer to that is no. The SAVE plan, despite this injunction, still remains open to all new applicants for now. So no need to worry about that. Go ahead and get on the SAVE plan. But back to your other question about the consolidation and your $2,500 a month payment. So whenever you consolidate your loans, it's going to default to the standard 10-year plan. And they're going to quote you that payment on that plan. That doesn't mean that's the plan you're going to stay on. That's just by default what they quote everybody. Once that consolidation is finalized, the next step is to wait for the IDR application to process. Okay, so you'll just have to be a little bit more patient, let that process, and then you'll get your new, most likely lower payment quoted from whatever IDR plan you applied for. Just keep in mind that consolidation is a multi-step process, okay? And ultimately it's a waiting game. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I think you hit a really important piece of the puzzle. While we're stressing the importance of this deadline and you having to do something before this deadline, on the day after the deadline, there's not a presto changeo. All is right with the world. Everything is fixed. Expect to be waiting. Consolidations take roughly 2 months. And because people are kind of slamming the backboards right now, consolidating in much larger numbers than normal because of the deadline, we expect that it might even take a little bit longer than the 2 months that is normal for a consolidation. Yeah. So just be patient. And then behind the scenes, like we said, this adjustment, IDR adjustment is happening. They told us it was going to be done by July. Then they moved it and they said now it's going to be done by September. So once again, no news is not necessarily bad news. Don't freak out. Stay abreast of the information. Tune in to news sources. Tune in to things like this so you know what's going on. But expect there to be some waiting time in between, us actually knowing like, hey, okay, I have this many payment counts, or my consolidation is done, or I'm on this payment plan. Patience is going to be a very key piece of this puzzle.
Certainly.
Another one I see here, since the sunsetting of pay was part of the overall SAVE plan, is there a chance that the pay may be extended since SAVE or parts of SAVE are in jeopardy?
It could be. It could be.
Yes.
But we have to stick with what we know right now. And what we know right now is pay is sunsetting July 1st. And if you're not on it, you're going to lose it forever. So again, stay focused on the here and now and the information you have on the here and now and act on that, not what could potentially happen.
Yes, 100%. All right, couple more. I got like 4 more here, and there's one. Actually, I'll do the one in the chat first, and then we'll do the 4 that remain, and then we should be good to go. Okay. I did a double consolidation almost 2 years ago after a consultation with you guys, yes, and successfully got on pay. And then I switched to SAVE when it became available. However, am I missing the rest of it? I don't see any more. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna guess that the thing is, like I said, this person is worried about switching. Hey, I was on pay, I switched to SAVE. Do I need to switch back to pay? So they know that they're eligible for the pay-as-you-earn plan. And while we've talked about it, like I said, if you're just joining right now, a lot of people are freaking out versus on the pay versus SAVE piece of the puzzle. And a lot of people, because it was kind of shoved down our throat. When SAVE came out, they're like, get on the SAVE plan, do this now, this is great. They were just like singing its praises. And when I say they, the Department of Education, and, you know, the political side of things. And it's not a bad plan. It is a very good plan that's going to help a lot of people, but it is also not one size fits all. So some people, you know, at their own thought was like, oh, pay is this much, save is $100 less, because it generally is $100 to $150 less than any of the other payment plans. I'm just going to switch to save, which wasn't necessarily our advice. You know, as student loan planner, it might have been we chose pay for you for a specific reason. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily saved yourself money by getting onto the save plan, because the save plan is a 25-year plan, whereas the pay plan is a 20-year plan. So I don't know about you, but I'd much rather pay on my loans for 20 years than 25 years, even if the payment is going to be slightly higher, because what I expect for myself 20 or let's say 15 years down the road is that my income is so much higher than it would have been, you know, right now, that I don't want to pay for 5 years longer at my new big executive CEO position. I'm speaking into existence for myself. Income. I don't want to pay for 5 more years longer at a big salary. I'd rather pay $100 more now on a monthly basis and be done 5 years sooner and be on the pay plan. That's not one size fits all information again, but it's the reason that we have to do an analysis. Is save versus pay most appropriate based on what your particular situation is?
Yep.
All right. This one's for you, Colleen. I did a double consolidation almost 2 years ago. That was the one I just read. Sorry, scroll down. Since save is not codified into law, what are the chances it eliminate if Trump wins in November, or the House or the Senate are controlled? So I guess separate of the injunction, you know, as per the election, what are the chances that this somehow is repealed?
There's a good chance, if we're being quite honest with you. We've already, again, there were 18 Republican-led states that pursued this injunction in the first place. We strongly believe that if Trump is reelected, he's going to put together a rulemaking committee that's ultimately going to abolish the SAVE plan. Now, if the SAVE plan is abolished through Trump, they can't just leave borrowers high and dry. They have to replace it with something else. And so there have been some proposals around what they're planning to replace it with. But again, to answer your question, if Trump is elected, is the SAVE plan in trouble? And the answer is, yeah.
Just good old fashioned yes.
Yeah.
We will know more in November. Like I said, I think we'll know more first in October, because that's when the Supreme Court is supposed to meet. So that's actually before the election. But, you know, we'll get a wave of changes related to that. And then we will get maybe a second wave of things that are happening as a result of the presidential election. So, like I said, I know everyone's sitting on pins and needles. Everyone's wanting to know, like, what's the right answer for themselves. The short answer is that we don't have the right answer for everyone, because we don't know what changes are coming. We didn't see these changes coming. You know, we're staying abreast of everything student loan related, and, you know, keeping our expertise at in tip-top shape, but we're having to give advice based on the information that is available. The advice that I was giving pre-COVID is not the advice that I was giving during COVID. And the advice that I was giving at the beginning of COVID is not the advice that I was giving at the end of COVID. And now here we are kind of post-COVID, and yet we're on, you know, round 4 or round 14, really, to be honest, of advice being given. We can only give advice based on what the current rules, what the current laws are, what current legislation says. And so the best bet for you is probably to book a follow-up consultation if you are a client of Student Loan Planner already, or to book your first consultation so that you understand how these different changes are affecting specifically your situation.
Highly recommend.
All right, so let's wrap it up by just talking a little bit about the June 30th deadline. So I mentioned that there's 3 things that are affected by June 30th: the IDR adjustment, pay as you earn, and ICR. Do you just want to give us like a few thoughts, Kathleen, on, you know, what should somebody be thinking about if it's we're 4 days away from them possibly having to make decisions? What kind of decisions should they be making? What are the considerations for those 3 different options?
Yeah, so first thing with the IDR waiver, should you be consolidating your loans? And signs that you probably should be consolidating your loans is if you have loans from multiple different programs, undergrad, grad school, doctoral program, and you have made payments, and there's different payment counts on those loans. You consolidate, you get the loan with the longest payment count spread across all of those loans, and that just fast tracks your path to forgiveness. Also, if you have extended periods of forbearance and certain types of deferment, those are also going to count as payments under the IDR waiver, but you have to consolidate your loans. So if you have not consolidated your loans yet, and you think all of those provisions apply to you, book a consultation with us if you need to get that confirmed and work on submitting that consolidation application ASAP. The pay plan, ICR, those two income-driven payment plans are sunsetting July 1st. You need to be figuring out, should you get on the pay plan? Does it make sense for you? Is it the lowest cost plan for you overall? Just because it's a 20-year plan does not automatically mean it is the best plan. You need to crunch the numbers, and we can help you crunch those numbers. So reach out to us if you need help. Same thing with ICR. ICR is the most expensive income-driven payment plan, but there are some scenarios, as Lauryn explained earlier, where it makes sense for certain people to get on ICR. That's oftentimes it is their only income-driven repayment option that's going to give them forgiveness if they're a high-income earner. So right now, you need to be spending the time crunching those numbers. And if you don't want to crunch those numbers or don't know how, reach out to us, get a consultation on the books, and we'll be more than happy to help you.
100%. All right. So as we wrap up, there was just one or two left in the chat that I'll answer, and then we will head out. Like I said, you will have to go to studentloanplanner.com for more. Check out some of the stuff that we left on Instagram. We've got blogs. We've got podcasts. Oh, actually, that's a really good point. Connor and I, another student loan consultant, did a much longer podcast on ICR pay and the IDR waiver, and what you need to know about the fact that this deadline is approaching and how it might affect you. So, Kathleen gave you the 2 or 3 minute version. We gave you the 30 or 40 minute version, just really breaking down those things, because today we really tried to focus on this save injunction. So these last two said, if I'm in administrative forbearance, is it likely to remain until September? I'd say likely, yes. But you just take it 1 month at a time. They will let you know when something is changing. Also, will the payments be reduced to that 5%? So no, we are not expecting the payments to be reduced to 5%. That is something that they put a pause on related to the injunction. And then despite being unknown and unpredictable, it is very helpful that you all are answering these questions. Yes. He said, we do the best we can. I know it's hard when people are like, we just want an answer. And it's like, no one has the answer right now. That's the other piece of the puzzle, is like, you've seen a lot of things where people are trying to get you to book something or buy something, and they're willing to tell you a lie just to get you to pay them. We're just not going to do that as Student Loan Planner.
No.
We got to keep it real with you. We're going to tell you if this is not something that should benefit you. Like I said, we're trying to give as much information away as possible, because we know people are not going to book a consultation. There's going to be tons of people who are going to invest in themselves, but we know there are other people who are just never going to pay our fee. And we don't want them to not be helped by the information that we have. So that's why things like these lives exist. The last one says, if you owe on your IDR, will it still be forgiven if you meet the requirement? As long as your IDR is not saved. So if you're on IBR or if you're on PAYE, you will still get your forgiveness if you've met the requirement. They specifically said they are not doing any more forgiveness related to the SAVE plan. All right, I think that wraps it up for the day. Any parting words, Kathleen?
Like I said, for most folks, it's going to be stay the course. If you're on the SAVE plan, stick with it. If you feel like you should be on the pay plan, now is the time to be crunching those numbers. IDR waiver, if you feel like you could benefit, get that consolidation application in by June 30th. ICR, crunch those numbers. And if you can't figure it out on your own, give us a ring.
100%. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.